Oh, man. Oh. Oh. Oh, look at that. They go 3 wide.
Okay, easy up. Gonna have a yellow. Gonna have a yellow.
There's no question this place always delivers the fireworks. Hello, everyone. I'm Jerry Punch, and welcome to Texas Motor Speedway. You know, nothing can compare to the thrills and excitement of open wheel racing here at Texas, and nothing can compare to what occurred here, Turn 3 at Texas 1 year ago. Arguably one of the most terrific crashes in all of open wheel history. Indy 500 winner Kenny Brack has contact. His car gets airborne and pirouettes against the catch fence as pieces are sheared away. He is secured inside that capsule, that tub of the car. Brack's injuries were very serious. A broken sternum and femur, a crushed low spine, and 2 exploded ankles. But he would survive, and remarkably 2.5 months later witnessed the birth of his daughter, who was appropriately named Karma. 10 months of rehabilitation followed, and 3 weeks ago he returned to competition in his native Sweden. But he had never come back to Texas until this week, and his first trip was not to the racetrack, but to Parkland Hospital, where he and wife Anita went to give their appreciation to the men and women who were there on a day when he so desperately needed them. Kenny Brack had come back to Texas, a place that almost took his life 1 year ago.
Well, I have been testing once. Actually, in June I tested IndyCars already, but I just didn't have the stamina at that point to drive. You know, it was too. I thought I was able to, but you know, it was basically too heavy, everything. I was fast and stuff, but I couldn't do a race distance. Yeah, well, yeah. It looks like they're a little crooked.
Well, you were a little And of course, that accident in its way opened the door for Buddy Rice to replace Kenny Brack for the season at least at Ray Hall Letterman Racing. Bobby Ray Hall there on the right, a former Indy winner. And that opened the door, of course, for the Indy 500 win for Rice. There's Adrian Fernandez, who's been a remarkable story this year. He's the oldest guy in the series at age 41, and despite missing his first race of the season, Fernandez has gone on to record now 3 victories, the winningest season ever in his 12-year Major League open wheel racing career. But few people know, however, that just 2 short years ago, Adrian nearly called it quits. In 2002, the popular and successful Mexican was involved in 2 major crashes. During a street race in Vancouver, British Columbia, Fernandez got caught up in another driver's accident. His right side pod was speared by the nose of another car, causing 2 hairline fractures in his left pelvis, as well as severe bruising on his right buttock, where the nose had penetrated the cockpit. 3 months later, in another street race in Australia, Adrian was caught up in another accident. With visibility near zero for the start of the race, Adrian's car got turned around by another. Unable to see, the drivers wound up plowing into one another, and Fernandez nearly got decapitated by a flying car. Miraculously, Adrian suffered only 2 compression fractures of the 2nd and 3rd thoracic vertebrae. Understandably, thoughts of retirement weighed heavily on his mind.
And I'd never been injured that way, and I had a lot of fear about if I was going to get back, you know, properly. And so you get all these things, but you know, then when you get healthy, and then you realize that you know, you don't want to. I don't want to leave racing like that. You know, I want to leave racing on top.
Fernandez takes the win, 3rd win this season. What a run!
Well, right now he is the hottest driver on the circuit in 2004. Adrian, 2004 has been a very, very good year for you, but I'm sure you'd like to forget what happened in 2002.
Absolutely. I think, you know, what happened here in this year, you know, especially the way we started, you know, we had a lot of things against us. Fernandez Racing never gave up, and we kept working and working race by race. And, you know, these last 5 races have been just a dream for the team, for Fernandez Racing and myself.
What has been the difference? Because in the last 4 to 5 races, you finished either 1st or 2nd place. You've been absolutely in fuego.
I don't know, this fuego, I must be doing something good. I don't know. It's I feel good on the racetrack. The team feels good, confident, and it's just something. This is by far my best season ever, and everything is clicking. And the way we're picking up the setups for the racetrack, and everybody on the racetrack has been behaving, and we've been able to really have great races. Last weekend was fantastic to finish with 1-2 with Tony Kanaan. Like that's the closest finish I ever had, and I tell you what, it's so exciting when you win by so little.
Well, we wish you the very best of luck today. It's what the IRL wanted, close finishes, and this year, 10 of our races have gone down to less than 1 second.
My most memorable moment of 2004 is the month of May, capped off by a win at the Indy 500.
Buddy Rice will pull to the front, the green flag waves, and we are underway. Buddy Rice will lead the Indianapolis 500-mile race into turn number 1. Buddy Rice will nearly sprint the wall on the inside. Jerry Bakers, they go 3 wide for second. Unbelievable move as Buddy Rice wins the Indianapolis 500.
And of course, once again, it was that win that the whole stage was set right here at Texas when Kenny Breck got in trouble and into the fence in turn 3. Kenny Breck comes to all of the races, usually heads home for race day itself. He prefers watching it on television, and we're looking to see whether or not maybe next year at the Indy 500, Kenny Breck is not back in a race car. The people here at Texas Motor Speedway do a great job with every event, including, of course, this final event of the IRL IndyCar season, the Chevy 500. Big crowds here always, much to do. The TCU marching band has been performing. You heard the excitement of the opening ceremonies, and you wonder what's behind those eyes and what he has in mind for this day. Tony Kanaan has already hinted that they have something planned at the end of the race in California. All 4 members of that team did donuts on the backstretch and didn't tell anybody, including Michael Andretti, the team owner. There's the points leader, and we're going to take a look at the 7-Eleven points as they stand coming into this race here. Of course, Tony Kanaan, there is no question, he is the champion. But take a look at second place there. Weldon and Rice, they are definitely in a battle, and what Weldon is going to need is a 5th or better if he wants to have an absolute lock on second place when they leave the track here today and head on to their final banquet of the season, which will be held, interestingly enough, on a cruise ship. So, Weldon and Tony Kanaan, 2 very interesting people. Kanaan really the professor in this relationship in that 4-driver team. We sat down with both Tony and with Dan Weldon to see what they learn from one another, and we find out they're not only teammates, they're family.
It's not because I'm his friend, but even if I didn't like him, I wanted to have him in my team because he pushes me to the limit so many times that when you think nobody can go any quicker, well, he goes, and then you try and then you go, and then he goes again, and it's just, that brings the level of the team up. And
I'd like to finish the season having won the most races, and I know he's going to try and change that, but that would be my goal. But to have somebody of his caliber beat you to a championship is nothing to be ashamed of.
I just want to add one thing. It's something that I tell Dan. I'm not that much older than him, but I had a teammate, which you guys know very well, Alex Zanardi, and he always looked at me and said, Tony, I see myself and you when I was at your age, so don't worry about it. One day you're gonna win a championship. And I told Dan the same thing. I think he's the guy that you know, he's coming up. I mean, he has a lot more years left than I do, and I think he's definitely going to be a champion, maybe as soon as next year.
So we can certainly see that this rivalry is keeping Tony Kanaan awake, Scott Goodyear. But one of the things that I think we should address is the fact that this race offers a unique opportunity for all of the drivers, and it harkens back to their go-kart days, when it didn't matter what you did on yesterday, it didn't matter what your season had been like. What really mattered is going out, living an existential existence, trying to prove to people that you were the best in go-karting and you deserved a shot at the big time.
And today is the last day that these guys have that opportunity to do it here at Texas. And the key thing is you're only as good as your last race, Jack. All these guys know, and they've heard the stories, go out there. There's not much difference in the points right now. The key thing, though, I can tell you from driving all the years that I did, you want to win this race. You want to put a good first impression towards a team owner that you're talking to, because contracts are about ready to be signed. Half the drivers are about signed, Jack, and there's about another half that are still looking for rides.
Now, as much as there's pressure on these teams today, there was some pressure on other teams yesterday. Let's talk about what happened to Pennzoil Panther and their team along with the John Mansville car.
Chevrolet came in here with a great engine. They were on the front row with Thomas Schechter. Those guys pushed the envelope just a little bit too far. They ended up putting a rear wing on the car that was not legal. It went through tech inspection not only for Thomas Schechter, but also for Townsend Bell. Those cars were illegal. That's why they're in the back of the grid.
Well, as bad as the day was for the Panther team, it was even worse for Andretti Green's driver, Dario Franchitti, who the last time we were here set the car on the pole, but boy, he had problems yesterday.
You know, he's been strong all weekend, looking for a little extra speed. Yesterday's practice, you saw the car bottom out. They say a reported broken rear wheel. The car hits the ground. He loses control. You're a passenger right now, Jack. You're up into the wall. I can tell you hitting the wall here is no fun. But the key thing, I spoke to him this morning. He says the temporary car, the T car, is just as good as the primary car, and his foot is not bothering him when he's driving in the cockpit today.
So, Paul, it's very obvious. It's not about yesterday. It's all about today.
Oh, it's all going to be compressed into one afternoon, and then they have the winner to figure the rest out. The Firestone Pre-Race Show. We thank you so very much for joining us, and don't forget, the race is coming up next. Later today, after the Chevy 500, it's the Chrysler Classic of Greensboro. So stay with ABC Sports throughout the afternoon. Some of the activities of the pre-race leading up to this, the final run of the IRL IndyCar season. Welcome back to ABC Sports live coverage of the IRL IndyCar Series, the Chevy 500 from Texas Motor Speedway. It's a golden day here in the Lone Star State, and to give us the command to start engines are 3 U.S. Olympic athletes whose performances in Athens will forever shine and inspire. From the women's gold medal and world record-setting 800-meter relay swim team, Granbury, Texas native Dana Vollmer. From Grand Prairie, Texas, track and field double gold medalist in the men's 400 meters and the 1600-meter relay, Jeremy Warner. And from TCU, the silver medalist in the men's 400-meter relay, Darvis Patton. U.S. Olympians, it's all yours. The All-Penske front row, Toyota hoping to make a mark here at the end of the season. So much on the line, and as both Jack and Scott have pointed out, you've got all winter to rebuild, repaint, and think it over again. Remember 2 weeks ago, Darren Manning got in trouble on qualifying at the California Speedway, launched the back end, and hit the wall and hit it hard. As a result, he had some injuries, mostly related to a concussion, and had to sit out that race, and has now made the decision to sit out this race. But he's going to sit it out with us down in the Target Chip Ganassi pits. First, Darren Manning, how are you feeling?
Getting a bit more excited now the cars are starting. I wish I was out there, but as they leave the grid there. But no, I'm feeling pretty good, but just wanting to be out there racing, just precautionary measures. I've got plenty of movement in my back, so it's not doing too bad.
Well, we're counting on you to give us the inside.
I'll give you all the gossip.
You got everything, all of the gossip. Good.
All the drivers,
well,
ask me anything.
Let's take a look at the starting field here in the Chevy starting grid.
Helio Castroneves, car number 3. Sam Hornish Jr., car number 6. Vitor Meira, car number 17. Buddy Rice, car number 15. Scott Dixon, car number 1.
Brian Hurdice, number 7. Dan Weldon, car number 26.
Tony Kanaan, car number 11.
Alex Barron, car number 51.
Adrian Fernandez, car number 5.
AJ Foyt IV, car number 14. Kosuke Matsuda, car number 55.
Scott Sharp, car number 8. Mark Taylor, car number 13. Tomasz Enge, car number 20.
Kurata Takagi, car number 12.
Ed Carpenter, car number 52.
Felipe Giafoni, car number 24.
Dario Franchitti, car number 27.
Thomas Scheckter, car number 4. Townsend Bell, car number 2.
And that's the Chevy starting grid.
The race analysis here, guys. What a great racetrack this is. The high banking here makes for a lot of side-by-side passing. Round 16, as you can see, 200 laps here, all at high speed, probably all at over 200 miles an hour. The guys ran 215 miles an hour in qualifying, 209 miles an hour in qualifying just earlier this season in June. You can see our track map here, 1.5 miles, 24-degree banking. That's why they run side by side, 2-3 abreast. Down here in turns 1 and 2, there is a lot of bumps right now from the tunnel. That's where Dario Franchitti had his accident just the other day. And just watch these guys run 2 or 3 abreast. The key area is over here coming out of 4. It really tightens up through that area as it does coming over here out of 2. Watch for a lot of wheel-to-wheel and drafting going down here into turn 3.
The onboard cameras at Texas are always spectacular. We expect them to be that today as well. Townsend Bell well in the back of the field. There's Thomas Scheckter. And we expect this car to make some early moves toward the front. Scott Sharp, a lot of questions of what's going to happen with Scott next year. We know he's going to be racing. We're just not sure where it's going to be. And of course, Quattro, AJ Foyt IV, starting 11th. He's been running very strong lately. Our latest winner, Adrian Fernandez, starts back in 10th place. And of course, Tony Kanaan, the champion. Now you will notice that the colors on this car, while they're the same, they've actually reversed them, white on the bottom rather than green. And there is Scott Dixon, the lone representative of the Target Chip Ganassi team. So sit down, strap in, and get ready, because the final race of the season is always a barn burner, and especially when you run at Texas. Pace picks up. They look for the green.
Green flag, green flag.
And they hammer it down into turn 1. Penske cars, of course, 1 and 2. But Buddy Rice looking up high. And Mira comes up alongside to try to poke his nose around Sam Hornick. Vitor Mira, the blue and white 17 car. Into turn 3 and 4 and across the line already. Nice clean start. You can see some sparks. Remember, they're heavily loaded here. Full tanks of fuel, and when they get to those bumps that you talked about, Scott Goodyear, they'll bottom out. You can see the flash of spark when they do so.
This is where the engineers come into play, guys, simply from the fact that when the car is full of fuel like it is and tire pressures are low because the tires temperatures haven't come up, these guys start to bottom out on the racetrack right now. Riding along with Thomas Scheckter, who's in 15th, going around AJ Foyt IV along the high side, going over the bump area that I spoke about in turns 1 and 2, now going down that backstretch where you have a run going into 3.
There is no driver any better, more fearless than Thomas Scheckter. You know how tough it is to come from the back and try to work your way up to the front when you got a fast car? Doesn't bother Scheckter at all.
Jack, I spoke to those guys this morning about that disqualification run, and you're absolutely right. You know, they're so cool about it. They go, hey, that's what we have right now. That's what we got to run with. But we have a good race car. Panther's given us fast race cars. We think we can get to the front.
But with Thomas Scheckter, you talk about a guy who has had no luck at all. We've just gone with a caution on yellow. And there it is. Oh, man. Ed Carpenter.
You know, there's a guy that needed a little bit of luck. This certainly takes him out of the Rookie of the Year championship because Kosuke Mistura certainly had a lead going into this, and he had to actually win or finish second to have a shot at that. But talk about a guy that needs some luck, Paul. He is not signed yet for next year. Eddie Cheever did not take his option up. His fate right now is unknown.
Yeah, good news and bad news in this one. Ed Carpenter is fine. He gets out of the car. The car is wrecked, and he's obviously disappointed. at the start of this season, but that should give the Rookie of the Year cleanly to Kosuke Matsura. There it is, just up into the wall, coming off at turn 2 and onto the backstretch. So the first caution of the day, Catherine Hevis jumped out in front, took the lead. We'll be back with a restart after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
My best memory race was the Kentucky race because Adrian won the race and I finished fourth place, which is quite good for the rookie.
Now Kosuke high, they come 3 wide behind Fernandez. Kosuke Matsura's a driven man here.
Yosh!
Well, he can say Yosh again because with the incident involving Carpenter, he is now officially the Rookie of the Year.
Remember at the beginning of the season, his crew chief, Paul Tom Anderson, told us that at the start, Kosuke was in kindergarten. Then when we got to Michigan, he said, well, now he's in high school. He said, we want him to finish college by the end of the year. I think he can toss the tassel to the other side. He's graduated.
And a good guy, always has a smile and a wave. One of the nice guys of the series. Let's go down to Jamie Little.
Well, we just got a word with Eddie Cheever. Eddie, what happened? Only 4 laps in and Ed Carpenter's out. I know he wanted to put in a strong run here.
All I did was talk to him on the radio, make sure he was okay, but it looked like he might have hit a bump or got some dirty air and just tripped it up into the wall. We're all very disappointed. We've really enjoyed working with Ed in his first full year, and this is not the note we wanted to finish the season on, but that's racing.
I know one thing you guys were going for coming in here was that Rookie of the Year title. It's now gone, but he was definitely a hopeful this year.
Absolutely, and I would say that we probably didn't manage the fact that he was a rookie as well as we should have in the first half of the season, but his second half of the season he was very fast, very aggressive, very professional on the super speedways. And you know, right now we're getting over the disappointment of having dropped out of the race 4 laps into it, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. He gave it a good hard run though.
Well, I know you still have Alex Barron out on the track. What are your plans at this point for next year? Any thoughts?
We're evaluating everything we're doing, and we'll probably be making some decisions in about 2 weeks from now.
2-car team?
2 cars, maybe 3, but definitely 2.
Thanks, Eddie. Well, there you heard it. We might have 3 cars in the Red Bull at Doc Punch.
Yeah, great news out of Eddie Cheever. Down here in the Andretti Green Pit where they have 4 cars successfully running this year. Dan Weldon, who's second in points, said a moment ago when the race started, he got a shimmy in the car, a vibration when he hit the brake pedal. Now, he says it's vibrating, guys, when I hit the brake pedal. Do you know what the response was from the pits? Just don't hit the brake pedal. You'll be fine.
Yeah, when you have Michael Andretti owning the car, Jerry Bunch, that's what you'll get. Weldon, despite that, moved from 7th up to 4th. We have the pits open, but only 1 car took advantage of that, Scott Sharp's car. We do expect, Scott, though, to see a split of the strategy pretty early on.
The key thing right now is that if you can pit under yellow, you know you will not lose a lap on the racetrack, guys. That's what all these guys are always focusing on. Now, just to touch on Weldon, I was listening on the radio yesterday when they were running. He was complaining of a long brake pedal yesterday, that maybe it wasn't as stiff as it's supposed to be when you apply pressure onto it. So maybe there's a reoccurring problem there.
Well, Andretti Green Racing owns the most wins for a team, but the big key is Brian Herta's winless yet.
The lookout, the back of the pace car, Andretti Green Racing went over to their headquarters of 7-Eleven to celebrate their championship not far away. Tony Kanaan there is the champion. They made it a very festive time. Everybody got an autograph, an opportunity to meet the drivers on the team. That's part of the fun time, and 7-Eleven kicked in an extra $500 for everybody on the team for doing a good job. Imagine how they will feel if this car, you're watching the live shot right now, completes every lap in this race. First time it will ever have been done in a season. That's remarkable.
Interesting conversation with Tony Kanaan this morning. I said, you know, are you going for it? What are you doing? He said, well, I worked on a race car setup all weekend. That's why I'm not up from the front in qualifying. But he says, I think I got a good car for the race. I said, do you help your teammates today? He said, if I can, up until about 10 laps left to go. But the guy I want to see really win, Brian Herta. So I said, well, would you let him win if you had to? He just looked at me and smiled and said, we'll see.
Well, how about Ed Carpenter? Jamie, is he okay?
He's okay, but very, very frustrated. Ed, what a way to end the season. You had a great rookie year going, and you finished with 4 laps in.
Yep, just
trying to work my way forward, running the high groove. The car felt really good. I had a lot of confidence going, just run around the top, and a 24 car just came across my nose, and I lost the front of my car and just went straight into the wall. So just trying to go to the front, and I don't think I was being over aggressive. It just way it happened.
Great job this year. We hate to see it finish like this, guys. He had one top 10 finish, and we have one lap to green.
Johnny Rutherford, three-time Indianapolis 500 champion who lives close by, has most of his life in Fort Worth, Texas, has pulled the pace truck off the course, and they're picking up speed on the backstretch. Elio Castroneves leading his 9th race of the season. You saw Sam Hornish, Buddy Rice. There is Dan Weldon. And the rest of the field, by the way, they did also pit the 27 car during that caution period. So already Andretti Green is thinking about that split strategy. Here we go again. Weldon goes head-to-head with his nemesis in the fight for second in the championship, Buddy Rice. Mira comes up, gives Buddy Rice a little help with an aerodynamic push. You're on board with Adrian Fernandez. He started in 10th, he's now up to 6th. And Tony Kanaan's on the move. He brings number 11 down on the inside of Fernandez.
Watch his hands move as we look right now through the visor cam. Reaching down inside the cockpit, having an opportunity to make some differences in the car with either a weight jacker or a roll bar adjustment. Here we go right now with his spotter giving him some information. Tony's looking on the inside there though, guys. That was a little bit tight, not enough room there.
You know, we name all these cameras. That's the visor cam, of course, that you've seen Tony Kanaan. That other shot is what we call the ant cam. That's the ant's view of the track. Thomas Schechter. Remember, he started all the way in the back. He's now up to 13th as he goes around Mark Taylor. And now that's Brian Herta down on the inside. So Schechter and Herta go wheel to wheel.
That's where Herta's spotter has to let him know someone's coming fast on the top side. Keep your line, stay in your lane.
For a long while in qualifying, the 4-car of Thomas Schechter had the pole position and then was only eclipsed by Elio Castroneves. And then they discovered the problem with the rear wing. He was moved all the way to the back of the field. But in doing so, Eddie Cheever walked over to me and said, "You believe that time up there?" So he was hinting at a problem with the wind right then.
But remember that Thomas Schechter has been plagued with bad luck all season long as he starts to work to the outside of Scott Dixon in the red and white car. And Schechter wants to change his luck. Maybe his luck changed. He got disqualified.
He just touched the wall, guys.
Nah, his luck didn't change, Scott.
You could hear the throttle come off, Jack, just when you're talking there. And that's when a driver goes, oh, no.
So now he drops back into the clutches of Dario Franchitti, who had an accident here. We mentioned it. Has a broken bone in his foot, but elected nevertheless to drive here today. And Schechter gets back into the throttle and begins to pull away and start all over again.
Just looked like he was high on the racetrack. You want to be in that lower section, all the dark area where those guys are running. The further you move up higher on the racetrack, as you know, guys, then you turn around and get in those marbles that we talk about. Now, Siri's on the high side right now, the yellow car, number 4, the Pennzoil car on the high side. He's starting to drift up already on the very edge. That bang that we heard was probably him going down in the gearbox when we were on board. I almost thought that he might have touched the wall.
What's amazing to me is that he gathered it up. I mean, that's a remarkable accomplishment.
He's fearless, Paul.
Yes,
He's probably one of the most fearless drivers out there.
And speaking of fearless, look at him now as he tries to move on both Dixon and Herta.
And speaking of fearless, that's why they re-signed him. They signed the contract yesterday, another year extension for Thomas Schechter with the Pennzoil Panther team, because they know there's nobody else out there that's probably better for the suited car right now than Thomas Schechter.
Yeah, and his good luck's got to come around sooner or later, doesn't it?
He's hoping so.
Looking over from Dixon to Schechter. Back at the front, Sam Hornish tucked in right behind Elio Castroneves. Rice is in 3rd. His teammate Mira back there in 4th, and Dan Weldon has dropped to 5th, but 5th is all he needs. Koski Matsura, 55 car, getting overhauled a little bit. He's already Rookie of the Year, but he'd love to keep his foot in it and with a high finish, if not a win. But obviously something got to him. He started dropping backwards.
When I spoke with him this morning, Paul, he said that he thought he had a top 6 car, which he knew would guarantee him the rookie championship at that point in time.
Penske cars out in front, 1-2. Penske cars were 1-2 in the first race of the season at Miami Homestead. They went down to the last lap that way, and then Sam Hornish took the checkered flag and the win. Will it happen today? We'll see.
My best moment from 2004 has to be the Miami race this year, being able to edge out my teammate and win my first race with Penske Racing.
Oh, this one is going to be tight. They come to the finish line. Hornish has done it. Hornish beats Castro Neves in his 12th career win.
And doing that is also the first time a driver won in their debut for Penske Racing. So with a 37-year history and all the great drivers who have gone through that, it was just a really special day for me, and definitely a day that I'll remember for a very long time.
Sam Hornish would certainly like to revisit that memory today. And look at the Penske cars 1 and 2, but Helio Castroneves in front right now. If there is a desperation factor in this team, and there may well be, it would ride with Helio, who is winless thus far this season, despite the fact the team has led 649 laps. Look at Thomas Scheckter. He's been screaming up through the field again, now 4th. Alongside of Dan Weld in the Klein Tools car.
Just a moment ago, Thomas Scheckter went in there and went 3 wide all the way around the high side of turns 1 and 2. I didn't think he was going to make it, and then he turns around and he comes out down the backstretch side by side with Weldon. And these guys right now have a battle going for the manufacturers for Honda and Chevrolet, Paul.
Hey, Darren Manning, what's it like sitting in the pits having to watch all of this?
It's not so good, but I know what that feels like when Thomas is coming around the outside of you at the beginning of these races. He charges at the beginning of these races. He's always got a very good car right at the beginning of the race. So you can see he's working the high line really well, and he's on the move. He's one of the fastest out there at the moment.
And Toyota's running first and second, Darren Manning.
Yeah, that's good. I wish I was out there in one of them as well. Scott's just struggling a little bit with push. He's just waiting for the first pit stop to maybe make a wing and a tyre pressure adjustment. He's struggling. I guess you guys maybe have a bit of his telemetry. If you look at his steering, he's all over the place in traffic as well. So, but yeah, it'd be good to get out there, and looks good for Toyota at the moment.
Well, you just got a good hint of the interval from the first 3 cars, Castroneves, Hornish, and Mira. There they are. And then back behind them, here comes Scheckter. Scheckter now solidly in 4th place and trying to catch up to the lead.
What's impressive about that with Thomas coming forward, it's a new Chevrolet that qualified in the front row before their disqualification. So they knew they had the power, they knew they had the handling, which we talked about earlier in the show. The key thing, it gives the driver confidence right now to know you have the opportunity to work your way up front. Now, you know he's not finished a lot of races this year. He has to have patience, guys, to get to the end of the race.
But the guy that we're riding with, Scott, it's so important not only to win.
Some of the front runners are starting to complain about handling, so just take your time, pick them off when you can.
But what he wants to do, as we've been saying since the outset, wants to lead wants to race every lap. That would be akin to like a pitcher maybe winning every game every season, or like in football. It would be a quarterback never throwing an interception throughout the career. It's just never been done in motorsports.
It's a record that has not happened in the open wheel series at all. It's a fantastic record if they can do it. And let me tell you, that whole team is so pumped to accomplish that. But you can also imagine how they feel, how many pieces are in a race car, and any one of them. I mean, so many times, especially at the Indy 500, that we have seen a 25-cent item just stop the car dead.
But this battle up front, Paul, right in the middle is the only guy that has won a race this season. The 2 guys, the one in front of him, the teammate in number 3, Helio Castroneves, wants bragging rights, needs a win. And the car behind his teammate, Sam Hornish, in the blue and white car, he needs a win. Vitor Mira looking for employment.
38 are complete. First 3 remain right on a string. Vitor Mira looking for his first win of his career. Helio Castroneves, the leader, looking for the first of this season. And the Penske team loving it that they're out in front.
Back at Texas Motor Speedway, bad news for your Indy 500 winner, Buddy Rice. It is an electrical problem. He's had to come in. The problem is they had to take the tape off the side pod before they can get to the screws. You guys were just talking moments ago about a 25-cent part can ruin a day. Well, for Buddy Rice, it's a battery, and for Bobby Rahal, not the way Buddy wanted to start the day out.
Well, the car was running fine. Everything was under control, but obviously an electrical problem. I don't know quite what it is. We'll probably change a bunch of stuff and go out. The day's over as far as winning it, obviously. But we'll see. Vitor's doing a good job so far.
And good luck to you with Vitor. Back to you, Paul.
Also, Koski Matsura, you saw him slow down some time ago. They now report him out as a 6th gear is out. He's still in competition, but he's lost a gear. And also the 13 car, that's Taylor, has something caught in the air intake. So it's heating up the engine. They're trying to figure out what they can do about that. Probably all they can do is get to the pit stop and get it out of there. Looking back at Weldon. Tomorrow night, join Al Michaels and John Madden in St. Louis for another edition of Monday Night Football. It's the Bucks against the high-powered Rams. Monday Night Football, 9, 6 Pacific, right here on ABC Sports. So we're getting close to the stops, though, because of the early yellow. Jack Root, your guess, 60, 65?
Yeah, because don't forget, they make such better mileage during caution. We had that one short caution period.
And look at Scheckter. Schechter's moving on again. They had 8 laps of yellow, but Scheckter on the move behind these guys, up alongside Mira, going for 3rd place. What a run.
The impressive side of that right now is that Chevrolet had the opportunity to make up the time in the distance. Now, we talked about the disqualification before. You see the rear wing right here? Look at this black right there. That is the replacement upper wing that they had to change out. The original one that was painted when they left the race shop was actually not legal, so it was disqualified. They bought a new one here from the manufacturer, replaced it on, and that's what they're running with now. No time to paint it.
And right behind him, Dan Weldon with Rice coming in to have the battery replaced. They were reporting out low voltage in the battery. That's going to, and Rice is back in yet again, so whatever it is, they haven't found it, but that puts Dan Weldon in 2nd place in the championship right now, something we said at the start of the show that we were going to keep watching. So Penske cars, 1st and 2nd, Castroneves and Hornish. And then Vitor Mira has come back up on Scheckter and dropped him back into 4th place. Normally, conventional wisdom would tell you, Scott Goodyear, that this part of the race, you kind of take it easy, get to that first stop, make the adjustments. Anybody told the guys up front?
Well, it was very interesting in the driver meeting this morning when Brian Barnhart, chief executive of the IRL, in charge of this whole program, said, guys, we just need to ride around. As we mentioned before, not a lot you can do in the championship. And he said, do you guys know what I expect out of you? The room was quiet for a second, and a couple guys looked up and said, to turn left all day long? And he just said, I can't believe you guys. We need you guys to get out there, keep away from each other, give each other some space, and let's not have any accidents today.
Yeah, those driver meetings are pretty enlightening into the personality and character as we look at the stats and the likes of Sam Hornish, who is currently in 2nd place. And Todd Harris says Rice now going to retire.
Well, Paul, the problem is now they're reporting that he has a dead alternator, and you and Scott know they've got to take off an awful lot of fiberglass to get down to that. So they've asked him to come off of pit row. They brought him all the way into the split between his pit and Vitor Mira's pit, and you can see from the pictures it is not looking good. Buddy's staying in the car, but they've got to take off an awful lot of the car to get down to where they need. It's a dead alternator right now that's keeping Buddy Rice out of this competition.
Thomas Scheckter brings her down in turn 4, making the entry to the pits. They insist when you're under green, you make this entry in turn 4. Give everybody an opportunity to know you're on the pit road. Now remember, they have run this car out of fuel, so they're playing it probably a little conservative, Jamie Little.
That's right, Paul. Thomas Scheckter very happy with the car. Just a little fuel. They're going to top it off, get some tires. Guys, he has made up 16 positions already. Look for his left to turn around. He's in and out. Things are looking good.
And those 16 positions just went from that to a lap down as the leader, Elio Castroneves, who's led from the drop of the green, goes screaming past, completing 56 laps. Look at Castroneves. That's a signal. That's telling everybody else, I'm going into the pits.
And on that stop with Thomas Scheckter, a lot of front wing went into the car, guys. So either he's going to go really fast because the car wasn't working for him, or they maybe have gone too far and it will actually end up being loose. Be interesting to see.
So of the serious front runners, Helio Castro-Neves heads down to the Penske pits, and Jerry Punch.
Helio Castro-Neves loves the setup, guys. The two-time Indy 500 winner said we anticipated the wind being up today. The car is handling flawlessly here with the winds gusting on the backstretch. Changed nothing on the car. 4 tire zones of fuel, and he is away.
More Penske perfection in the pit stop, though they've had a couple this year that were questionable. And Vitor Mira is on the pit road now. So is Koski Mitsura. And A.J. Foyt IV is coming out of the pits. Here's Vitor. Todd?
Well, Vitor Mira coming in complaining of no problems whatsoever. As Dr. Punch pointed out, the winds have been gusting. We've been watching it here, and the winds have been going almost to 19 miles an hour. He takes on.
Looked like maybe a full turn on the front right for Mira.
Some front wing change going on also. Lots of guys coming in right now. Danny Weldon trying to get into his pit box with Taylor coming out. That's a little bit of a miscue on his side.
So here is the champion. Last thing they want right now is anything to go wrong with the refueling.
Wheels are done. Hold. Go.
Well, they got that coordinated. Weldon comes out ahead of Kanaan. And here is Sam Hornish, who picked up the lead when Castro-Neves dropped into the pits. And Adrian Fernandez, Brian Herta come in too.
Guys, Sam Hornish in. He says the car's a little bit loose, so they're going to make a 1-pound air pressure adjustment in the right front to try to adjust the loose conditions of the Hornish car. He's down and away.
And he's going to get out ahead of Fernandez. The line right there at the pit exit. So good round of stops for the leaders, all under green. And Scott Sharp, always a good move. Remember, he was out of sequence on stops because he came in under that first and only caution period.
And what he's looking for right now is that miraculous yellow to come out so he can actually go and do his pit servicing under yellow and not actually start to lose his positioning that he's got right now.
So is Townsend Bell, so is Dario Franchitti and Felipe Giafoni. Those are the top 4. And as Sharp heads down into the pits, the top 4, they're the ones that have carried it a little further because of the stop under the caution. Townsend Bell behind Sharp on the pit road.
Townsend Bell coming in right now, not expected to make any changes, but neither was Scheckter. It was a last-minute change. Let's see, they're doing tires. He's getting full fuel, taking a tear off there. You saw him rip it off his visor. No changes. Todd Harris, take it away.
Very similar coming in, no changes. Remember, Scott Sharp came in on lap 8 and topped off, so this is a very quick one, and he's back out clean. Paul?
And Koski Mitsura just a little further up the pits. They've just pulled the cowling off the back of the car. Remember, he had lost 6th gear. Now they're going to try to pull that rear wing and see what they can do about that, if anything. Here is Dario Franchitti in. Gary Punch.
Well, guys, the 2-time winner this year did come in on that first yellow flag and topped off on fuel. The car performing very, very well. Very optimistic after an incident early in the weekend. It's causing a broken bone in his left foot. Flawless pit stop for the Arcax team. He's away.
Franchitti, the last of those, who waited until the first caution and then went into the pits. And Dan Weldon, looking so strong now. And look at there, Weldon sits ahead of Helio Castro-Neves.
What we just witnessed,
maybe not for long.
Paul, what we just witnessed is a collective sigh of relief from all these drivers. When you start green flag pit stops, you hope that they cycle through and everybody accomplishes it. Now they can go back racing, and boy, are they.
Look at this, 4 cars all going for the lead at once.
Right now, Tony Kanaan is trying to get up behind his teammate to help his teammate to push him along right now, because the Penske cars are doing exactly that, running nose to tail, and Hornish is trying to put Castro-Neves up around Weldon, which he gets completed.
He's got him around Weldon. Hornish in the number 6 car up high on Weldon right now is also looking for his own shot up front.
And the thing I think we need to point out here, guys, is that's Toyota power going around the Hondas right now as we ride along with Tony Kanaan, and Toyota has made great gains, as has Chevrolet, in this last couple of races.
Well, while the AGR and Ready Green Racing team helped Weldon out, got him out in front, the Penske cars got back around and in front. We'll be back with more of the Chevy 500 after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
My best moment of the 2004 IRL season was winning my first race at Milwaukee. Having most of the 2003 season off, it was really important to get back, get out there and get winning races again. So for that to happen there, at such a historic track as Milwaukee and against such stiff competition, really made it special. Another really cool moment from the 2004 season was at Fontana, when we all pulled off into turn 2 and we all did some donuts. There's a couple of things going on there. Obviously, that was we're happy that Tony won the championship. It was a little maybe remembrance of Greg Moore, and it was cool.
Five years ago, Greg Moore, there is Franchitti. Greg Moore was killed in a racing accident in California, one of Franchitti's best friends. Franchitti does have good news. Fastest lap of the race, lap 15 for Franchitti at 213 miles an hour, but this was just yesterday. They say the right rear wheel broke. Of course, the tire came off the bead and bang, no control into the wall. Broke a bone in his right foot when it bounced off of the throttle. Still, he's in 10th, but he, of course, is a little bit out of sequence right now, and that may help at the end of the year. Buddy Rice, out of competition, Todd?
Well, not the place you want to see your Indianapolis 500 champion, Buddy Rice. What happened out there?
I'm not really sure. It looks like we have some sort of electrical problem, or we lost an alternator, so there's no way the batteries that we have on these cars will last. So that was it. There's just no power from the electronics.
You had such a hot start. The middle of the season was great. What do you think went wrong in the last 3 stops?
I mean, the championship chase was hard, I think, and the flip at Chicago didn't help us at all. And we did good at Fontana, but we came here just the electrical problems. I mean, we had a strong car. We're running strong third place. We're sitting right where we wanted to be, but just the way it is right now.
Congratulations on a great year.
Thanks.
Let's send it down to Jamie Little.
Well, I'm joined now by the Menards Infiniti Pro Series champion, Tiago Medeiros. Ironically enough, he's Brazilian and he's number 11, just like Tony Kanaan. What does Tony Kanaan mean to you? I know you're moving up to the IRL next year, and he just became the champion here.
For sure, it means a lot. Both of us run in the car number 11. He won the championship in the IRL, in the Indy Racing League, and I won the Menards Infiniti Pro Series. So I pretty much follow his step. He won the Indy Lights. I won the Pro Series this year. So looking forward to move up to IndyCar Series next year.
Let's talk about California real quick. You wrapped up the championship, but you had a very scary flip right at the end. Take us through it.
It was really bad. I mean, that's racing. Sometimes accidents happen, but we came back for this race. Our minds was set to keep the win here, and this is the best race to win because they'll keep talking for the next 3 months until the beginning of the season.
All right, Tiago, hopefully we'll see you here next year.
Thank you very much.
All right, and he was out testing with Dreyer Reinbold last Friday, and things went well, so hopefully we'll see Tiago Medeiros. What's going on with Brian Herta? I hear something may be going on.
Yeah, as we come back to live action, Brian Herta in the pits. Now, there was a rumor going about that this was going to be the AGR Andretti Green Racing sleeper of this race, that they were going to try to get a win for Brian Herta, and of course that too would be unprecedented in a season, having a team with all 4 cars winning. And what you have to worry about now is that in any way a prediction of what might happen in Tony Kanaan's number 11 car. Remember though, Herta 2 weeks ago at California had a gearbox problem, and we've already seen one of those problems thus far come for Koski Matsura, so we'll have to see what it is with Brian Herta.
You know for sure that all his teammates are aware that he's in there having a problem, because they tell you that over the two-way radio from the pit box as we ride along right now with Tony Kanaan, who's changing gears, trying to keep his momentum up to try to get past Mira. One thing we talked about before was Thomas Scheckter, who you see up ahead in the yellow car. He does not seem to be as strong in this segment as he was the previous segment. I was really wondering if those changes, which seem dramatic, were really working for him right now.
On board, we give you the Firestone telemetry on Tony Kanaan.
See the speed, 212, 13, 14 miles an hour. The G's increase going through the turns where he's at right now. You see he's really at 100% throttle, and this little arrow right down there on the bottom, you can see it's right in the middle of the green. The tire temperatures and pressures are just perfect for what he's after.
And again, a perfect performance from the number 11 car, Tony Kanaan and his team. What a great job they've done this year. Now all he needs to do is get up and poke his nose into the fight for the front, which has remained fairly stable. Fernandez has finally gotten into it in third place. Weldon is fourth, then Scheckter, then Mira, then Kanaan.
We're talking about completing all the laps in a season. Well, back in 1963, a guy we all know, A.J. Foyt, completed every lap going into the last race of that year at Phoenix, but he ended up finishing one lap behind the winner. A lot of people reminded Tony about that all this weekend.
You know, when you're a driver, that's not the stuff you want to hear all the time. You know, you come to a racetrack with all these positive thoughts, and everybody comes along and tells you all the negatives. It's like, you know, you want to tune them out.
Speaking of A.J. Foyt, the grand champion, he's got a sling on his arm as you ride with his grandson right now. Remember, he fell off of a backhoe, had surgery since the race 2 weeks ago. It said that his total rotator cuff was just an absolute mess, but he got a smile on his face now.
But in typical Foyt fashion, when people asked him about the rotator cuff, the doctor said that it's the worst they'd ever seen. Everything that happens to Foyt is always the worst that anybody's ever seen.
He came up and poked me in the shoulder in the pits, and I thought he was going to show me the surgical wound again. You know, he's really good at that kind of thing. Look at this.
Well, yeah, but there's a reason. He's from Texas, and he told me, he says, well, you know, I'm from Texas, and we do things in a very big way. So I always want to make sure that when I do it in a big way.
Scheckter with Mira in tow. And they set Weldon back a little bit. Look at this. Fernandez moves around Sam Hornish and goes to second. Fernandez has been truly unbelievable.
He did that from the front stretch, Paul. He got a draft going along the front and went around the high side of Hornish, and now he's going to take the same move right now, going around Castroneves.
Well, you talk about intimidation.
Still there.
Castroneves has been in the lead the whole way.
Still there. Still there.
Now they're going to go 3 wide.
Back. Hornish is looking high. He's not there.
Well, by dropping in behind Fernandez, Hornish really helps him. He may be looking at second place for himself.
Well, I think right now he wants to have a shot at getting past his teammate and then maybe have a shot at trying to get past Adrian, because he has not had success at getting past Castroneves all throughout the beginning of this race.
This is the kind of action that's made Texas Motor Speedway famous. Jerry Punch.
Hey guys, about 5 laps ago, Sam Hornish asked Roger Penske, do you want me to stay behind Elio? Do you want me to stay with Elio? Roger said, yes, stay in line. But now that Fernandez has gone by and is challenging both those cars, all bets are off, so Sam can make his own move and try to reel in Fernandez for second or the lead.
It just takes your breath away, doesn't it? Whoa! Koski Matsura, they've taken that car behind the wall. They are still working on Brian Herta's car pit side.
Now we see that going on. We've seen it so many times this year that it's almost commonplace. Remember, they're doing 208 to 10 miles an hour average, 214, 15 miles an hour down the straightaway. These don't have fenders on, guys. You can't go rubbing like that, or else you pay the consequences.
I think somebody forgot to tell all those drivers that fact. We've seen it all season long, that they do like to get up and leave a wheel donut on the side pods.
Well, with the change in the lead for the first time, Adrian Fernandez is out in front. 95 of the 200 laps are complete, so Tony Kanaan still running hard. He just may set that special record. We'll be back. Hi, everybody. Great day at Texas Motor Speedway. Temperatures up in the 80s now in the Chevy 500. Nothing changes at the front. Once Fernandez got there, he has been very strong. Hornish sits in second. Castroneves is back there with Thomas Scheckter working him pretty hard. And Jerry Punch just told us that they've told Adrian Fernandez from the pit, John Ward, the tactician down there, says, Hornish has nothing for you. You're fine. Do everything you want.
Remember, Fernandez is one of those 4 drivers that would like to become the winningest driver in the season. All of them knotted up at 3. Rice is already out, so he doesn't have a chance. Kanaan and his teammate Weldon are the only 2 left.
Well, I guess I don't have to tell you that Brian Herta is back out there, because you just saw everybody screaming past him. Long time in the pits, though, and has dropped him 22 laps behind the race. So we're just beyond the halfway point. We take you back to the start of the race with Elio Castroneves and Sam Hornish Jr. on the front row. Castroneves on the pole, and he goes to the lead. Scheckter really starts a run then, coming up through the field. Got Sharp right in front of him. That's Ed Carpenter catches the wall. And then Buddy Wright brought it in. They tried to fix an electrical problem, but he's out. Jan Weldon goes wheel to wheel with Helio Castroneves after Weldon's pit crew gave him the lead of the race. And Adrian Fernandez has just been charging through this field all the way to the front. And now his team says he is in great position right now. Go back to the live action and the look back from Adrian Fernandez.
And just we saw Scheckter go off there, coming down the front stretch into turn 1 and 2 on the apron. You see that water coming out and the moisture probably in the smoke. Tells you probably something to do with the motor, guys.
And they're going to go yellow because of that. And this is coming on a time maybe 4 laps away from a lot of the pit stops.
What disappointment for Thomas Scheckter. Thought that he might have an opportunity to win. Could hear the motor just rumble to a stop there. They certainly have found the horsepower. Now they just have to work on a little bit of reliability.
And again, they'll have the winter to do it. Delphi safety team comes out right away. Ready to make sure everything is okay for Thomas Scheckter. Boy, he did have a great day to that point, though. Wow. He's always exciting. That's the good thing. You come to one of these races, you're not sure who to watch. Just find the yellow car and keep an eyeball on Ed. He'll do something for you. So Scheckter will now join Ed Carpenter, Buddy Rice, Koski Matsura, who are all out of competition. A little more attrition than we're accustomed to seeing, but of course, Texas also works the cars a little bit harder.
10,300 RPM these engines run at, and these guys are flat out all the way around. If you want a punishing racetrack, this is certainly it, and this is a great test bed to see if new parts in the motor are going to last.
When they open the pits, you should see most of the field come in. The more interesting part will be who doesn't, if anybody decides not to, because this is a race that can be won on that pit strategy. Best assumption is they're all going to hit.
Well, you have to. It's under yellow right now. You have to take the opportunity to
Right,
come in.
we have to come out of turn 4, right? That is correct. You're going to pit off of 4.
So some radio information going to Adrian Fernandez. 2 rules here. If you come in on a green flag stop, you come in off turn 3, as we've seen these guys do before, run around the apron. If it's under caution, as it is right now, under a yellow flag scenario, you follow the pace car, come off of turn 4, and that's the information that Adrian wanted to confirm so he does not get a penalty.
Let's go pit side again, Jamie Little.
Well, Paul, John Barnes, owner of the Pennzoil Panther team, he had a big smile on his face earlier. I think you guys made up at least 26 positions throughout the day. Where did it go wrong? What happened this time?
I don't know yet. We'll have to take a look at things. We'll get back and see what happened. But Thomas and the whole crew and, you know, Chevrolet did a great job this weekend, and we were really competitive. We know next year they better watch out.
Well, the good news is you have your man back, Thomas Scheckter. You signed him on for 1 more year yesterday.
Yeah, we love it. He's the guy. I mean, he's the guy we want in our car.
Congratulations. Hate to end the year on a bad note, guys. It's 10 DNFs for the Pennzoil Panther team, but gosh, that guy can race.
The luck does have to change, doesn't it? Mike Griffin and John Barnes, they're in the Panther pits.
Paul, you would think that the upcoming pit stops would be an opportunity for drivers to maybe take a rest. Well, Dr. Jerry Punch and Dr. Henry Bach did a study and discovered that the heart rate for drivers accelerates and is the fastest when they're resting on pit road. I wonder if it's because they're ending up not controlling their destiny anymore.
It's got to be a control issue. Somebody else is running my race. Don't forget, tonight at 8:30 on ESPN, the Vikings will take the field against the New Orleans Saints. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Safety team is out making sure that when that situation developed, and Scott, it appeared like it was a motor issue for Thomas Scheckter, that nothing got on the race course. When you're running these speeds, I mean, they've been up above 212, 213 miles an hour regularly. Dario Franchitti lap at 213.1.
Well, the experience right there of Thomas Scheckter got right off the racing line onto the apron down in turns 1 and 2 and kept it off the racing line so it did not oil down where everybody else is going to drive, Paul, the key thing.
To remember, of the top 5 cars in previous pit stops, Fernandez has had problems in previous races. Hornish has had problems in previous races. Castroneves, he's been clean. Mir has had problems in previous races.
We'll watch first, second, and third on their stops as Adrian Fernandez leads the field in because he was the winner of the last race. He'll come all the way down into the last pit. Hornish and Castroneves getting service now for Fernandez. Hornish is away first of the group. Castroneves away. And Castroneves gets bottled up in traffic, serious traffic, and Fernandez takes advantage of that pit position, but Penske puts Hornish out in front.
Great pit stops by Penske all the time. Sometimes a time stop just to make sure that he could beat everybody else out. And when you're further up towards the front of the grid on the pit boxes, that's certainly the key thing. You can have that opportunity to watch what's going on down the pit lane, guys.
And Dan Weldon came out in third place as we showed you the ins and out of the pit lane and how it affected folks. We can go back and take a look, too. We've got a camera right there on the line as they come out. There's Hornish, of course.
Now, the white line and the timing equipment that they go across actually marks through electronics that's in the car. So if there was almost a dead heat tie, timing and scoring would actually know who really came out ahead of the other car.
So Hornish, Fernandez, and then Weldon. Castroneves losing some in that stop. You're on board with Fernandez as they continue to make sure that this track is ready for 200-mile-an-hour speeds. Jerry Punch?
Guys, we hear the same 4 words every time Adrian Fernandez comes by. The words are, way to go, muchacho. On that pit stop, no changes. The last time they were in, they made a major air pressure change, and that's when Fernandez rocketed to the front. Right now, he loves the setup. Not a single change whatsoever on this stop here. Let's check in with Todd.
All right, Doc, Sam Hornish Jr., speaking of tire pressure, he took a pound in the right rear tire. 4 tires and fuel for Sam Hornish Jr. Helio Castroneves' front right wing side was a little loose. He wanted some, but on that exchange, the left front tire changer dropped the wheel nut. It went under the tire. He had to reach under, pull it back out. That cost him about a half a second. As you saw, he got bottled up when he exited the pit row. Jamie.
Well, Todd, Thomas Scheckter is out of the car now, and he has a smile going, so it's not too bad. But gosh, it's so heartbreaking. I think you made up 16 positions in 25 laps, and then you end like this.
No, I know. It's a pity for everybody. We don't know really what happened. We've got to take it back and have a look at it. But I have to thank, Pennzoil and everybody involved. I'm happy that I re-signed again with these guys. I really get on with them, and, hopefully we can get some better results for our sponsors next year. We need it.
So Thomas Scheckter is retired from competition. This is his teammate, Townsend Bell. Look at that. He had to grab some grass coming out of the pit and then finally was able to join the rest of the line. Getting ready to go green flag racing when we return. There's Sam's new bride, Crystal, as she watches her husband bring the field down the backstretch. It'll be green flag next time by. Hornish, Fernandez, Weldon, Mira, Kanan, the top 5. Into turn 3 and into the go zone where they can pick up the throttle. Sam brings the field back. And Sam Hornish takes the green flag, followed by Fernandez and then Weldon. 116th lap. The restart comes on the final race of the IRL IndyCar season. Already we know that Kosuke Matsura is the Rookie of the Year as they battle side by side here. Helio Castroneves had the pole and the early lead, and then Fernandez came storming up through this field and took the lead on the pit stop. The Penske team gave the lead back to Hornish, and now that's the front of the field you're looking at. They are all together.
Danny Weldon starting to tuck in behind Fernandez, trying to get around Hornish. You know, how many times on restarts have you seen Adrian Fernandez time it right, get the power down, go through the gearbox perfectly, and make a run on the guy that's in front?
I'm not sure if Danny Weldon's tucking behind anybody. I think he's looking for a hole on the outside. Weldon cannot be one that you can give credit to being a patient driver. He wants to get up front, and these two guys are holding him back.
Brian Herta, who had his problems, came in. They took 21 laps to repair him, but apparently the repair worked. He's running 214.9 miles an hour, fastest lap in the race thus far. But here's where it counts, and here's where it's good. Tony Kanaan just keeps it rolling down the inside of Vitor Mira. It's a couple laps ago.
And you talk about being impatient. Dan Weldon needs to be smart to win. Well, I think he's going to have to try and tone it down just a little bit tried the high side and then Doc, he had to tuck in, he had no place to go.
Exactly, Jack. You know, they told Danny Weldon right before the restart, guys, we know we're not the fastest car here, so we have to be the smartest to win the race. I think he's pretty darn fast, but they're also trying to play it pretty smart here in the draft.
You saw some major looseness in that replay for Danny Weldon. Think about going that speed and collecting the car just at a natural instincts at about 215 miles an hour. Pretty special drivers.
On board with Scott Dixon. Led 748 laps last year as we look at the Firestone telemetry, and only 3 thus far this year. Darren Manning, he's out there alone for the team. I heard that the other guys are pretty happy that you're not. Is that
Yeah, they were worried about me on this track again, you know. But no, Scott's a lot happier with his car. He was pushing a lot on that first stint. They put some wing in on the first stop, and he was just out in the wrong group. Now he's with the leaders. He can really work the high line, the low line, or whatever. He's really happy with the car now. So let's get him to the front.
Darren Manning keeping track of the target Chip Ganassi effort of Scott Dixon. Manning, of course, injured 2 weeks ago and sits in Chip Ganassi's pit, and we've got him all wired up. He's pretty good-natured about that, isn't he, when you think about it, because, you know, he's more than once other drivers have commented on Darren's driving style, and he just keeps going and keeps laughing and keeps smiling.
Well, a lot of maturity I think we've seen through Darren Manning this year. Probably really over-aggressive maybe at the very beginning of the season. They certainly have calmed him down, and certainly a threat to win races, that's for certain.
Hornish, and now Tony Kanaan up to second place. Fernandez sits in third. 123 laps complete. Texas Motor Speedway and Lone Star State have given us some great moments. Remember the Foyt-Lyondike slap? 4 drivers have scored their first and only career win here. Both John Paul Jr., Dismore, and Jeff Ward. And of course, 2 times for the little guy sitting next to me now, Scott Goodyear. Checkered flag is out ahead, and Jeff Ward takes it. Jeff Ward by inches. Now, this is turning out to be a pretty good run for Scott Dixon as well. Toyota-powered car is currently in 7th place. The last race that he'll carry the number 1, denoting the champion from last year. And this, the Chevy 500, final race of the season.
And inside the cockpit of that car, Paul, Dixon has an American Eagle silver dollar in the pocket of his suit. They're going to donate the coins to the Sam Schmidt Paralysis Fund after the race. And the raced coins will be melted down to put a silver veneer on die-cast cars to raise money for Sam's foundation.
Sam's working hard with that. There's Darren Manning. How you doing, Darren?
Yeah, it'd be better if I was out there with Scott helping him out, but he seems to be struggling on his own. He can't get a break, but at least he's up the front there, though.
You're up there on the stand. Chip's up there. Can't you talk him into a relief drive?
No, I won't go. I'm not sitting next to they're racing. They're enjoying themselves over there. I'm sat with my engineer. We're bored here. We're calling a good race, though.
Are you learning anything sitting on that side?
Yeah, I guess I'm learning how mad. Yeah, the producer's great. She's saying in my ear. And you guys are doing such a great job. No, I'm learning what a load of nutters we are out there. How close we get to each other. So it looks pretty dangerous to me. I'm not sure I want to get back in one.
It's kind of fun watching Scott Goodyear. And a couple weeks ago we had Jill DeFerrin in the booth too, where they both say those guys are crazy. Well, you know what? You guys did it.
Well, you know, as we watch Castor Neves go around Mira right there, everybody that comes up here and sees what's going on said, I can't believe I did that. And I think if Darren was to be up here watching it go around, he probably wouldn't get back in the car next year.
It'd be even worse, absolutely. Great view from high atop the grandstand. Look at that grandstand. We're up there on the first level, right over the start-finish line.
Now, through this run, we've seen Fernandez start to work himself a little bit further back. He seems to me like he's losing speed in the middle of the turn, which tells me the handling of the car is going off for him. Everybody seems to come into the turn equal with him. Mid-turn, where you want the car to really speed up and rotate to get off the turn, he's losing speed right through that area. Watch for changes on that car through the next stop to help him get back towards the front.
And look up there in the fight, too. Scott Sharp back at 7th place and Vitor Mira. Sharp is giving Mira a run for his money.
Something we haven't seen all year. Asked him this morning, hey, are you happy? He says, I'm the happiest I've been. Toyota's given us a good power plant. He's obviously won here a couple of times, understands Texas, knows how to get around the high side, and I'm sure he's one of these guys we talked about, Jack, that's very eager to win or run up front like he's never done all season because of the off season.
I asked Scott a couple of years ago if he wasn't driving a race car, what would he be doing? And he said, I'd be in mergers and acquisitions. He doesn't want to get there right now. In 2005, I don't think he wants to go to work on Wall Street. I think he'd like to be in the cockpit of a car.
Well, his fate next year is unknown a little bit. Tom Kelly is taking over his father's dealership, so right now he's very busy, does not have the time to spend on his team. His team is available and up for sale, so right now Scott's looking where he's going to take his Delphi sponsorship next year.
His dad, too, a great road racer, Bob Sharp, and I watched Scott when he scored his first SCCA national championship when they raced it at Road Atlanta in his dad's, I think it was like 20-year-old car at the time. Now they're in race control giving some pretty serious thought to Vitor Mira. There's race control. The man standing up is the senior official of the IRL, Brian Barnhart, and they have warned Mira. Don't be blocking out there, I would suspect was the warning.
Well, you can really make your car wide going either into the turn or out of the turn. The key thing that Brian Barnhart stresses in every driver's meeting is stay in your lane and don't use your car to maneuver other cars around. It's very subtle, but it certainly works, and we've seen what happens here before if wheels touch at this speed, and Brian Barnhart was emphatic in his driver's meeting saying, guys, I will not tolerate it.
And the good news is that Brian Barnhart will back it up.
We saw last week, a couple weeks ago with Fontana, with Danny Weldon getting a infraction penalty where he had to come through for a stop and go simply because of moving the Sam Cornish up the track.
Outside, man.
Got to have that official's eye, though, to tell the difference between just trying to get the car around at 200 and actually blocking somebody or at least trying to scare them.
Well, he certainly has some assistance up there in race controls. We're going to ride along here with Adrian Fernandez right now, seeing Sharp. Whoa! Adrian hardly even took his foot off the gas, guys, but back to Brian Barnhart. He has assistance up in race control. Alan Zer Sr., Rick Mears, all these guys with years of experience are up there helping him be the eyes what's going on the racetrack.
Back in 10th place, well, now just dropped to 11th as Franchitti got around him, is Alex Barron. He's been fighting with Franchitti for a while.
Can't believe Alex Barron had an opportunity to go skydiving with the Red Bull skydiving team. Said, it's too dangerous.
Barron finished third here in June, running just outside of the top 10 right now in 11th.
You talk about guys going places next year. Alex Barron is one of these guys that's also looking around. His contract was not extended as of yet by the Red Bull Eddie Cheever team, so it'll be interesting to see where he ends up for 2005.
A lot of guys concerned about that contract deal, aren't they?
Well, you wait till about the last 20 laps of this race, and I'll let you see what goes on here race side.
Cornish, Kanaan, Weldon. Been fairly stable at the front. They seem content just to stay in those positions. So Catherine Evis and Weldon have been hammering on one another. Will Hornish stay in front? In late September, the IRL IndyCar Series held a two-day test on the road course at Homestead Miami Speedway. 5 teams representing each chassis engine combination available recorded more than 1,000 miles of testing on both the dry and in wet conditions. These tests are in preparation for the 3 road course races on next year's schedule. Infineon Raceway at Sonoma, California, the historic long course at Watkins Glen, and a temporary street circuit in St. Petersburg, Florida. The drivers enjoyed the challenge.
It's like a kid on the candy store, you know. It's awesome. I'm extremely happy to start turning right and left again.
I think I'm like most of the guys. I think everyone was looking forward to it. Everyone wanted to get back to it, and it's been nice to be able to come back and do this.
The brakes are entirely different. The gearbox is the same, but we haven't run this kind of ratios before. Aero-wise, they've changed a few things.
Our biggest issues and concerns were we wanted to make sure that the engines had the capability of cooling under these conditions. We needed to test brakes, and we're still trying to determine the overall brake package from rotors, pads, calipers, that such a thing. And we also needed to test the transmission general overall reliability of the whole package, and it's been a pleasant surprise because I think the car has a real good ability to change direction. It's not into a big bad push and a lumbering type of car. It actually is a fairly nimble car. It has good ability to change direction, and I think overall everyone is pleased with the performance. We're about 1,000 miles right now and had no failures, so it's going very well.
Dario Franchitti especially told me he really liked running these cars on that course. And there's the way it stands right now for the schedule next year with St. Petersburg on April 3rd in Florida. That'll be the first road course for the IRL. And there you see Sonoma and Watkins Glen, New York on the long course, and the final race of the season will change next year to California Speedway in Fontana. Back at the front, they go 3 wide again with Scott Sharp up and part of it.
The high side on the left in the blue and white car. Mir has just gone around the high side, guys, in turns 3 and 4 for the last couple of laps, making up positions.
2 Penske cars, 1 and 2, Hornish and Castroneves, and then this whole gaggle of cars led by Kanaan, and he's only about 30 feet off the back end of Castroneves.
Right now with Fernandez, looks straight forward. We saw Sharp there. We talked about him a moment ago. Probably the best race that he's had of the season, which he certainly needs for this off-time, wintertime program that's coming up here.
Tony Kanaan, just, 41 laps for making history. No driver has ever finished every lap in any discipline, whether it's NASCAR, even in Formula One. Tony Kanaan certainly doesn't look as if he's playing it very carefully today.
Outside, 3 wide.
Wow, what happened there
it was just a fabulous split of Castroneves. Remember, he had a problem on the pit stop. Restarted in 6th. Not really a problem, just came out a little late. And then came right back up to the lead, and he's led 3 times for 83 laps here.
Well, both the cars in here, I would say that he's got a problem, guys, because he's right off the pace right now. Both the Penske cars slowing down. Dropped 2 wheels in the grass right there for Hornish, so something's going on with both those cars. They just went backwards in a real hurry.
Well, you'd think they'd be another maybe 10 laps away from a stop.
Well, Castroneves keeps going, so very strange for both of them just to fall off the pace dramatically like that.
And right on the same lap, Castroneves back up there. You can see him. Weldon high on the outside in the 26 car. That's the kind of onset, though, that we're talking about for Tony Kanaan. You just never know. The team's done an amazing job. Let's go to Jamie.
Scott Dixon came in, it was fuel tires, and he's out of here. Guys, remember, it's the last time we're going to see that number 1 on Scott Dixon's car.
Dixon and Herta both into the pits, both pulling back onto the track.
Here's what I think happened to Helio Castroneves. When the problem with Sam Hornish developed, Helio Castroneves, as we look at Hornish just trying to limp back to the pits, had to get out of the throttle. And it takes a while to get back up to full song.
You lose momentum.
Well, that's going to have to go yellow, guys, because he's not inside the line in the pit lane right now, so I'm sure they'll look at that.
And they do. There it is. It's caution now, but it's at a pretty interesting time, depending on how long, and it shouldn't be long for the caution. They were probably going to go 4 more laps, I'd guess. Look at this. Now watch Mira. That was that split you saw.
We saw it.
And then Tony Kanaan and Mira go 3 wide again, down through 1 and 2. And that gives the lead over to Tony Kanaan. First time today he's led. And the 13th out of this 16-race season. Watch it. Hey, Elio, how you doing?
Well, that was subsequent because Hornish actually ended up having a hiccup in the middle of the turn. Makes you wonder if it was fuel. And then Castroneves had to react, and then when he reacted, got offline a little bit. Both those guys went right around him.
Roger Penske would like to see that car brought down to the pits just as fast as they can in case it only is fuel.
Well, here's a time where everybody will pit. All the equipment's being laid out right now because everybody will take this opportunity to do some pit work.
Darren Manning, what do you think? Apparently he doesn't. Darren, you still with us? Well, we'll get
yeah, I was just saying about thinking about Sam's, fuel problem there. He obviously got out in the front of that last pit stop and, probably a short fill to try and get track position. And I think that's what us guys did as well. But we just got caught out by that yellow. So Scott's in a little bit of a bad position, but not as bad as Sam.
Darren, this TV stuff is a little more difficult than driving a race car, huh?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm just too excited.
Everybody. Well, they even got the cone as they came into the pits. They were going so tight for the limit line.
Remember that 60 miles an hour, and everybody's pitted in different spots, up and down pit lane here. You try to make up time and take advantage of pit lane if you can.
Could be the last pit stop of the season, fellas. You'd better make it perfect.
You're going to put the finish. Probably okay.
And Jack, you talked about the situation with all the drivers, with all the heart rate going. The crew themselves, I mean, they have to perform perfectly. Those heart rates and the crew members are just up there also.
And Tony Kanaan's crew can now say, all right, we've done it all. The car's in your hands. Probably shouldn't be back in here again.
Well, Tony Kanaan was very close to running out of fuel when the pits were closed for the yellow. He needed to pit that time by, and they were holding their breath to make the car come all the way back around. Remember, he's trying to go for a record. No one has ever completed every lap for an entire year. He made it back. They made a slight air pressure adjustment. His car is set to run to the checkered flag. Todd?
Well, Doc, I talked to Bobby Rahal moments ago. Now that he's only got one car in the show, it is Vitor Mir running second. He came in just a short fuel load, no changes to the front wing tires, and he's back out. Paul?
There is Mira, the number 17 car, driving for Bobby Rahal. He's the only car in the Rahal Letterman team left on the track. Rice retired early. In doing so, it gave Dan Weldon a solid grip on second place in the championship. This is, watch him come in here. Here comes Mira. Whoa. See the cone go?
Just an accordion effect from the guy in front when he slows down. Mira was trying to carry too much speed through there. Just missed the big timing tower there, guys.
I don't know if I want to be hitting the IRL cone. I'd be sensitive to that. On the way out, here is Weldon. There's Kanaan and Castro Neves. All right, Jerry Punch.
Well, Sam Horney's still sitting here in the pits. They've just now refired his Marlboro Team Penske machine. Apparently the rev limiter started kicking in and the thing just started shutting off. That's why he slowed down dramatically here a moment ago. They have changed some of the electronics in the side pod. They're going to try to get Sam Hornish refired and back on the racetrack. Final pit stop has been made in the Chevy 500, set for the run to the checkered flag when we come back to Texas Motor Speedway.
Back at the Chevy 500, Texas Motor Speedway, we've just gone green. And the teammates battle now. Tony Kanaan, the 11 car, sits high. Reverse color scheme of the entire rest of the season, if it looks a little different to you. And down low there is Dan Weldon, the Klein Tools, number 26. As the teammates go side by side, Fernandez is trying to close in. And Weldon sitting down low.
Now watch this as they go into turn one. Mira's car right there, the blue and white car, gets a little bit of dirty air from the cars in front, just kisses the wall in the right rear. If that was earlier, right now, I'd have to tell you, you'd be worried about that right rear fatigue going in there, but with only about 30 laps left, he'll probably make it to the end.
Look at Elio Castro Neves. He had that little hiccup, but he's right back in this fight. Fernandez is in there as well. Tonight, America's biggest smash hit, Extreme Makeover Home Edition, is all new. That's at 8, 7 Central, and it's only on ABC.
At the beginning of the show, Tony Kanaan talked about the relationship that he has with his teammate, Dan Weldon. Reminded him of the relationship he had with Alex Zanardi, but that the roles had been reversed. One thing I know about Alex Zanardi, he would never let Tony Kanaan just win a race to win a race. I don't think you're going to see that situation unfold even for Tony Kanaan. As we look at Castro Neves, Kanaan's best friend away from the racetrack, and his mom, Miriam Kanaan, here at the racetrack, and she gets really uptight, fellas, down on pit road. She really doesn't like to see her son out here doing this wheel-to-wheel.
Keeps a rosary in hand.
Look at Mira,
way up there.
Talking about rides for next year, here's one guy that's not re-signed as of yet. Rahal Letterman would like to keep him, but Some of the stuff I heard rumored going through the paddock here just this last weekend is that maybe a third car at the Ganassi camp might find Vitor Meira driving it next season. That'll be interesting.
25 laps less to go in this season, and it's still anybody's guess. And there are a lot of guys getting braver with every lap.
That's a true statement. You do. The closer you come to the end, the braver you get, without a doubt.
Well, it's exacerbated. There's no race 2 weeks from now. You got all winter to heal. You got all winter to fix the cars. You don't have to worry about it.
There's Herta, fastest lap of the race, despite being well behind it, 214.9 on lap 83 to get the target fastest lap of the race. And Sam Hornish out of the car now is with Jerry Punch.
And Sam, it looked like you had a good run going today, but suddenly the car slowed. What happened?
We had a real good car today, right where we wanted to be. You know, just right up to the front and leading. We had a real good car. We could run in traffic. We could run by ourselves, and the guys did a great job. Got me out in the lead. Just had a little bit of a problem. Car started missing, and then it got bad enough. I'm just glad that nobody got in the back end of me. You know, when the car started missing, because dropped quite a bit of speed off, but. Marlboro Team Penske guys did just an awesome job for me all year long, and we'll be back next year.
Sam Hornish began the year in victory lane. Wanted to end it that way, but it will not happen here at Texas.
His teammate was just up ahead and went even further forward. And Fernandez and Meira came splitting around Tony Kanaan.
Guys, what a change for Sam Hornish this year. Changes teams over to a team he always wanted to drive for with Marlboro Team Penske. We see Weldon right now trying to get underneath Castor Nevis. He gets married in June, buys a new house, moves in. A lot of stuff going on for him this year.
There's a lot of pressure up here at the front, too. Weldon, he's got second place in the championship, but he looks for another win. You got Elio Castro Neves, who has not won this season, would like to. Meira, who has not ever won, and a lot of people predicted he would before the season out. And then Fernandez, who has been so powerful, and of course, last but not least, this car, Tony Kanaan, just hoping to finish every lap in the season and set an unprecedented record.
And we just had a peek at Alex Barron, Paul, right there on your left-hand side. Looking back with the blue and yellow car, a guy that's sort of been hunting around a little bit here today. Remember, he finished third at this race back in June.
You talk about Tony Kanaan. Watch this close call with Tony Kanaan on the inside, 3 rows back.
Whoa.
Oh, just bobbled it at over 207 miles an hour, and right behind him in the yellow and red car was Scott Sharp. How he stayed out of it will amaze me.
You think those aren't great hands? Look at that. And Sharp, it doesn't look like he lifted at all, just moved over a little to the right.
Watch the two cars, the both green ones on the bottom there. It gets through there. Not much traction on the grass, guys, I can tell you. I've been down there before, and it just doesn't work.
18 laps to go.
17 to go, 17 laps.
I stand corrected.
Well, 18 before it went across the line.
Firestone telemetry on Tony Kanaan. Car is still running perfectly as it has right from the first green flag of the year.
Just listen to that engine sing. 10,300 RPM for all the engines, Chevrolet, Toyota, and Honda.
Absent a yellow, we're going to take you to the finish of the Chevy 500. Plenty of great onboard shots and plenty of tension all through the front of this field. Bragging rights for the entire winter.
Now what's happening, Paul, right now, these guys are trying to position themselves because they know they're coming up shortly here to 15 to go, to position themselves to be right there in the front in the Honda. We look at Michael Andretti.
Oh, and we get a caution. 2 cars into the wall. It's Franchitti
Alex
and
Barron.
Alex Barron.
I'm good.
Barron was having such a great run. That's a big hit on that car.
That's 2 wrecks today for the Red Bull Team Cheever team. You can see Alex right there in the center of the cockpit. We'll wait for him to see if he can take his steering wheel off.
Franchitti appears to be okay as he pulls his belts off. And
remember, that's 2 accidents for him this weekend, guys. He's got that broken left foot.
nasty way to end a season with just 15 to go when the caution came out. And the Delphi safety team working around Alex Barron's car.
You know, you talk about that, Paul, the Delphi guys. These same team go to every race on the IRL circuit, and it's a lot of comfort for the drivers to know they travel with you not only to the races, but also the tests, and that if there is a problem either in the race or test, that those guys are to you as quickly as possible. That car was almost not even stopped before the trucks were in view and going to assist Alex Barron.
Dario Franchitti, helmet off now, a wave at the end of the season. They're sending the field down through the pit area because of debris up on the straightaway. Dario probably doesn't want to put any pressure on that broken right foot until he has to. There's still a question mark.
Well, he did go to the drivers' meeting this morning on crutches, and we see the replay right now. Both cars are already collected together. That's Franchitti on the lower side, and that's Barron is up on 2 wheels, and looks like the roll bar and what have you is just starting to slide in between the car of Franchitti and the wall. So remember, there is the safer barrier here, which helps cushion the blow when the cars come and hit in contact with the wall. So steel and energy that they have is really absorbed by that wall, which is tremendous. And obviously a little concern with Eddie Cheever right now with his driver, with Alex Barron.
Remember a year ago, about this point in the race, I think the 188th lap was when Kenny Breck caught the wall in turn 3. Eddie Cheever very concerned, just because the length of time that the Delphi safety team is there. Dr. Henry Bach is the white-haired gentleman on over the cockpit there. So he's got a doctor right there immediately.
Well, I've been through this myself, guys, at this very particular track, and right now I got to tell you that the thing that they're doing is being very cautious. He's probably lurking awake right now. Apologize for my voice, I'm battling a bug here, but right now they look like they're in conversation with him, and they'll take every precaution possible to make sure that he's well.
And it's good news that they will take as much time as necessary. Jerry Punch, you got something for us?
Well, exactly, Paul. They are following a prescribed protocol to be able to extricate the driver, and you see Dario Franchitti a moment ago being helped into one of the ambulances. I'm with Kyle Moyer. And Kyle, first of all, you've spoken with Dario. How is he?
Yeah, he's okay, just upset, you know. It's been like, I mean, we're going to Disney Cruise next week to celebrate a championship, but I'd have to say our season's been a bit of a Disney roller coaster ride. I mean, and this caps this season. I mean, Dario's out there trying his best. We got pushed up in the wall, hit the wall there, and the big mix fell to the back, tried to get back up, and that's what happened. So I just hope Alex is okay, and that's all I worry about now.
What did the spotters say happened? I know you were talking a moment ago with this incident with him and Alex Barron.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it much because I haven't seen it, but it looked like Alex touched us from the back and pushed us around, you know. But as long as he's okay, that's all that matters.
All right, Kyle Moyer, they've won 2 this year, but not the way they wanted to finish the season.
So they're still working down around Alex Barron's car. There's plenty of help there, plenty of expertise, and they continue to run the field through the pits with Castroneves leading Weldon, Kanaan, Mira, Sharp, and Fernandez. Castroneves now beginning to sense a possibility of his first win of this 2004 season in the last race, and the second win for Roger Penske's team. Oh, look at that. There's some good news. Alex Barron is moving an arm, and that indicates consciousness, and we'll wait for the official medical report, but that's always a good sign.
Well, Doc Punch said that the precautions are there, and a lot of drivers have actually lived through this program. I have right now. You're thankful that these medical people are there on staff. As we're watching it go through right now, you can see the top. Franchitti started to break loose just a little bit there, and Alex Barron ended up catching him. He was on the high side, starting to go around him, and right now you have to say it's one of those racing accidents, guys.
Dave Brown and that Delphi safety team being very careful with Alex Barron, but the good news, he appeared to be moving around, and we'll wait for the official medical report as soon as they get a good look at him at the Infield Care Center. We'll be back, see if we get a green. There's my buddy Lone Star JR. Johnny Rutherford drives the SSR Chevy Pace truck here. He's out there because of the caution and the incident involving Alex Barron and Dario Franchitti. And there is Alex Barron's wrecked race car, the second for Eddie Cheever of the day. It's going to give him some pause over the winter. On lap 185, we've got 3 different views for you. It looks like just a snap spin for Franchitti.
As we watch the car that's in front, the white and blue car with a little bit of red on it, was Franchitti. Looks like he just breaks loose. Although Alex Barron is very close to the rear of the car, I don't believe that Alex Barron actually touched the back of Franchitti's car.
There in Tony Kanaan's pit, family looks on, and you know what they're thinking about? They're thinking that out in front, Jerry Punch, are you right there?
We are, Paul, and that's Miriam and Karen. Miriam in front with that. That's Tony's mom. And what's going through your mind right now? What are you thinking about with your son and brother out there racing these final laps?
We just want him safe back. That's it. We're praying for everybody.
They're thinking about what's happening these last laps. They know that anything can happen in Texas, and they're very familiar with what happened here a year ago. Guys?
Here is Tony Kanaan view through the visor on a technically perfect car this season. And here is the lineup and how they started. Helio Castroneves, when we come back, will go green flag, and Castroneves will have an awesome challenge with the world storming down behind him. All right, we got to think this thing over. Top of the scoreboard there, the 3 is Helio Castroneves. We know that he doesn't restart well, that they really put the gears in more for high-speed running, and everybody behind him does do very well. Back to lap 179, this was Castroneves going side by side with Weldon. Now he's okay there. He's okay once the car is up to speed. We're about to find out whether or not Team Penske came up with any solution to the acceleration issues that he suffered at California 2 weeks ago that in fact ended up handing the race over to Fernandez.
Helio Castroneves has not won this season, wants to win so that he can share a victory with Sam Hornish, who won the first race of the season. But when you go to second place, Dan Weldon, as he goes to the outside there in the red and white, you know, remember Weldon always sneaking to the high side all the time. So there's an opportunity not only to be smart, but for Dan Weldon, Scott, to come up through the gearbox quick.
Well, I think that's one of the key things, guys. And also, I'm not sure that the Toyota has as much torque right now as the Honda on a restart. They're certainly catching up on the horsepower game, but some of the Toyota guys say we just don't have the acceleration on a restart. And I think the thing is going to play into here too. If Tony Kanaan in third can help push Dan Weldon around Castroneves on the start, both those guys driving Honda cars, I bet you see Kanaan try and help his teammate out.
Help or pass him?
Well, help assist and maybe get following himself past Castroneves.
I help you for a half a lap.
Hopefully a couple of laps left to maybe have a shot at him himself. But the dark horse in this right now, guys, is Vitor Meira, who's just real hungry to win an event.
So, pace car comes down, puts the field under the control of Helio Castroneves. One advantage that he has is pacing the field back. As they go to the backstretch, they'll restart over between turn 3 and 4. Dan Weldon stacked right on the back end of his car. Has second in the championship, looking for a win. And of course, Tony Kanaan, the 11 car, would like to win, and also a mechanically perfect season. Green flag is out.
I gotta tell you that Helio Castroneves played that great.
He figured it out.
Danny Weldon was just a little bit asleep, guys, because that's going to be a hard deficit to make up. The key thing now, Kanaan and Weldon, nose to nose with Meira on the back to be able to catch up to Castroneves.
Oh, it's all in momentum coming back to the green, and Helio Castroneves got it. Can he hang on to it? You ride with Tony Kanaan. He sits in third place. Fourth place is Meira. Sharp is back there in fifth. There's the leader. Now Meira closes up on Tony Kanaan. On the final lap at Texas. Onto the back stretch, it's going to be a win for Helio Castroneves unless these two guys make something happen here. Kanaan and Weldon go side by side. Helio Castroneves makes the turn for the line. And there it is. Penske wins at the start of the season and at the end. Helio Castroneves, his 6th career win. Kanaan just edges out Weldon at the line.
Great job, Helio. Great job.
So two young Brazilians who grew up together now get to share an accomplishment. A win for Helio Castroneves and 3,205 laps for Tony Kanaan. A championship, and the first time in history a driver anywhere in a major series has completed all the laps in one season.
We're going for the fence. I've been waiting, just give me a chunk of the fence.
Spider-Man is back, guys. Isn't that a great feeling for him?
Castro Neves moves up now to 4th in the points here at season end as Marlboro Team Penske comes out to celebrate with him. And Tony Kanaan will begin the official celebration of his championship. And the IRL season has now come to an end. Tony Kanaan waiting over in turn 3. Race officials are holding him so that he can celebrate his championship. But the fight for second coming to the line was pretty spectacular. Look at this. That's Kanaan's nose closest to us. Weldon down low.
And keep in mind, it's slow motion, stop frame like that. You don't get the appreciation. A football field a second, you'd appreciate how close that was.
And that's what, 2,000ths of a second at the finish between those two. We'll talk with all the participants in just a moment. At Texas Motor Speedway, Helio Castroneves makes a last climb of the fence in this season, his first of the season, as he takes the win just ahead of Tony Kanaan. And now Todd Harris is with our winner.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, he is one happy Brazilian. You've waited all year for this. You climbed the fence. What a nice way to send out 2004.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a great momentum. This team, these guys are awesome. I mean, not only Marlboro Team Penske, but all our associates, Special Toyota. I mean, you guys work, you guys are your butt off, I mean, to make things happen. And today it happened. I'm so proud of everyone. And as you said, it's a great momentum to keep going, man. Woo! We did it, finally!
You have all winter to think about this as you look to next season. Roger's in place, Tim's in place, you get Sam. I mean, the team looks unstoppable. At the start of the year, with Sam getting that first victory, you guys thought you might be the team, and it was not the best season.
You know, sometimes racing is like that. Never goes the way you want it. And but again, I mean, we won the first race of this season. We won the last race of this season. Hopefully next year, be more even, be more competitive. Well done, Tony. Well done on the championship. But buddy, good job today. But I beat you, buddy. Yeah, baby.
I know you have some thoughts. Your good friend Tony Kanaan wins the championship. Maybe all of Americans want to know, what is it with the Brazilian drivers? Fearless.
I don't know. I mean, Tony and I mean, Vitor, I mean, all those guys. I mean, everybody's awesome. And this is their great man. I mean, Jesus, man, they were awesome. Great car.
Restart.
Hey, that's the way you do it, huh? Right.
Well, as Tim Cindric comes in, congratulations, Elio. Enjoy the moment. Thanks for the thrills.
Thank you. Woohoo! Let's go 2005, baby.
Let's go back up to Paul Page.
Oh, the Brazilians do know how to celebrate. You're going to see another Brazilian celebration here with Tony Kanaan very shortly. Helio Castroneves led 4 times for 104 laps, including hanging on to that last couple lap sprint to the finish of this race. Castroneves, Kanaan, Weldon, Mira, Fernandez. There's the top 5. Kanaan's waiting for the cue to come around and start the celebration for his first championship. A dream literally come true.
Exceptional season, never put a wheel wrong. When the car was capable of winning, he won. When it was finishing 3rd, and that's all it had. That's what he did. That's what a true champion does, guys.
Tony Kanaan's father, his late dad, was the one that convinced him to become a race car driver. He lost his father. Then he became a fan of Ayrton Senna. He lost Senna. Today is Tony Kanaan's day.
And the Brazilians do celebrate well. Tony Kanaan, 618 points with his teammate Dan Weldon, 85 behind, taking second over Buddy Rice. Helio Castroneves moved up a position around Adrian Fernandez with that win. The golf, of course, will be coming up next, but this is a critical moment. It's one that we've waited for all season long. Tony Kanaan crowned as the IRL IndyCar champion. Let's go down to Jerry Punch.
Well, Tony Kanaan has climbed out of the car here at Texas Motor Speedway. And Tony being congratulated by the crew here, talking to some of his sponsors, the 7-Eleven folks. And behind Tony here, there is a very large Brazilian contingent with waving the Brazilian flag as they go up there. And he goes up to the crowd to be able to say thank you for all the fans who have come from South America to cheer their favorite son on. And Tony throws a hat up in the stands. And we will get Tony over here with Tony George. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the man who has brought IndyCar racing with his vision to where it is today, the president and CEO of the Indy Racing League, Tony George. Tony?
Well, Jerry, I just want to congratulate Tony here and his entire AGR Team 711 crew for doing a great job all year long. I think they've been consistent, they've been fast, and that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is what championship dreams are built on.
Tony, 3,305 laps. No one has ever done that in motorsports history, run every single lap. You did it in a competitive series, the most competitive open wheel series in the world.
For sure. I mean, I need to thank Tony and the whole human family for a great series. We have a great thing going. We're building it up, and people can say whatever you want, but I think we are the best out here. Not my team, but everybody, the league. We work together, and we make this thing happen. So, you know, thanks for my team. They made me run all those 3,000 some more, whatever laps we did, and finish every one of them. New record for everybody. So thanks to the sponsors, Honda to give me a great engine, Firestone, almost 3,500 laps with no flats. I mean, it's just unbelievable. 7-Eleven. So I'm just happy. Look at this crowd. Looks like I'm in Brazil.
You got a huge Brazilian flag. Tony, you will get a check for $1 million on a Disney cruise here along with the trophy. But more importantly, 16 years ago, you lost your dad. And your final meeting with him, he told you, son, keep racing and keep winning. He's got to be awfully proud of you today.
For sure, he's somewhere. I mean, he's around, and I just, you know, wherever he is, he's proud of me, and I'm proud to be his son. He made a reasonable race car driver, I would say.
Hey, Tony Kanaan, go celebrate. You've earned it. You are the 2004 Indy Racing League champion.
Thank you. Thanks for all the ABC guys, for all the help you guys did for us. And we'll be back next year. We have some fun.
Tony Kanaan wins it all here in 2004. Guys?
ABC Sports will be back as well. Coverage of the 2005 season. But right now we can reflect on this season and the man who won the Cup. And the man with Toyota Power who won the final race after a very long wait. I'm Paul Page for Scott Goodyear, Jack Arute, Todd Harris, Gary Punch, and Jamie Little. Thank you for joining us this season. Next year, it's going to get even better. From the Texas Motor Speedway and the Chevy 500, take care. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports, Championship Television.